Hello there. This hour on Verbling, the next in my Getting Results in Business series. We're actually going to probably completing our unit today on how to talk about plans and processes. We've been talking about technical and non-technical processes, things that everyone has to deal with at work. And in today's class, we're going to be focusing on the form that you have to use, namely the passive voice. And we're going to do a realistic case study, something that you might have to do at some point, or you might have had to do, where you have to explain a difficult plan or process, perhaps to an investor or perhaps to a superior. And it's going to be complicated. So you have to put together all the skills that we've learned so far, the vocabulary, the key expressions, and the grammar that we're going to focus on today. So that's a bit about my class. Here's a bit about me. I'm Jon-Eric, your Verbling teacher for this hour, and I'm an American teacher from New York, hanging out in Lisbon, Portugal to bring you this class. Here are 3 quick rules to help you participate. Don't forget to turn off, tune in, and open up. That means when you're not speaking, please do turn off your microphone. That way we can keep the classroom quiet. Also, tune in to the new vocabulary words that you're going to learn. Use them as actively as you can so that I can correct you. And finally, open up to your classmates. Just relax and have fun. We're all here to learn, and this is a safe and respectful place to practice your English. So, before we begin, let me just apologize for the late start. Let's see, can you see me? There we go. I had a technical problem of my own, which is that I was trying to put together the presentation and I ran into a few problems, so it took me longer than I thought. But anyway, it's all done, and I've put the links for you, everything you need for the class today and this hour and next hour in the chat window. But in the class material. But let me now post it in the chat window as well. So the first link I'm posting is for the slideshow that I'm going to share with you on screen, but you can download it if you'd like. And the second link I'm going to post right now is for the shared notes. So any kind of correction, or sometimes we come up with a formulaic way to deal with the problem, how we might want to, the structure we might want to use, for example, to give a presentation or to handle a phone call, something like that. So I put those in the notes as well, so you have an example. And you'll see that from yesterday. That's exactly what we did. Okay, so those are the links that you'll see in the chat window. And now we're going to get started. Let me just say hello to 2 new faces. No, 1 new face. First of all, welcome back, Anton, Florina, and Giuseppe. Nice to see you. And let's say...
Thanks.
Great. And let's say the quick hello to Luo, because I don't think I know you. Luo, how are you?
I'm fine. Great, thank you.
Where are you from, Luo?
I'm from China. Yes, this is my first time with you.
Okay, fantastic. China is a very big country. Where are you from in China?
I'm from southeast of China, which city has called the panda's hometown.
The panda's hometown?
Yeah, Chengdu.
Chengdu. Ah.
Yeah.
Chengdu, of course. The panda's hometown, of course. And do you have a panda yourself?
No, I don't think so. It's too expensive.
Oh, no, you just... If anyone asks you if you have a panda, you always say yes. Yes, I have 2 pandas, actually. Yes, they're very nice.
You have? Yeah, I see. Yeah.
I do, right here, right over here, right over there.
You have a panda eye, panda-like eye.
One panda is called Bob, and the other panda is called, I don't know what the other panda is called. Well, let's get started. I'm going to share the presentation that I posted for you. And just to remind you, by the way, if you weren't here in the other classes, don't worry. We do a lot of revision. So you'll pick it up as we go along. Let me just quick review what we've done so far. We've been talking about processes. We've been learning key expressions for making and changing future plans. At the very end of yesterday's class, We also worked on expressions for getting someone's attention. So if you need to talk about a problem or something like that, what expressions can you use just to um, politely interrupt what they're doing or get them to pay attention to your problem? In today's class, we are, oh, let me move forward, actually. Here we go. In today's class, we're going to focus mostly on the passive voice to talk about a process. So I have a question for you, just to begin. In your country, is most business done in the office or at social events, such as parties and business lunches? How important is meeting people socially or networking for you? I'm saying this because earlier in the unit, we were dealing with someone who was trying to, they were trying to use networking to basically get an investor. This was for a biofuels company, and we listened in on a conversation. And they say, if you go to the United Nations, the UN, that in the in the big auditorium, that's where people give speeches. But all the business of the United Nations is done in the hallway outside, where people can actually talk to each other face to face. So, what do you think about this question? Anton, where is most business done in your country and in your field? In the office or at a social event while people are having tapas?
This question depends. To answer this question, we have to reflect about the kind of business. It's not the same when you are selling some kind of product that you can do on networking or on the internet or something similar. But if you have a service,
talk about your experience.
About.
Talk about your experience specifically.
Yes, I am a little entrepreneur. I have an engineer and service company, and both actions are necessary to get success, because we are always on the internet showing our products. But if you have a big customer or a client, if you have the possibility to play a paddle game or a tennis game or a golf game, or go to take any dinner or to have any dinner, is probably better, because you are going to get a directly impression and trying to have any kind of feedback about the impression that this kind of client must have of your company, and you can decide or change something. And this is the relation one-to-one is always necessary to big business, because especially when you have a good client, you have to improve your social skills to know what about this kind of person. And I think you have to work a lot in both sense. You don't have to.
Let me just interrupt you for 1 second here. Do you know the expression "everyone to wine and dine"? Have you heard that before? To wine and dine. Have you heard that expression before? Anyone?
No.
Wine?
Wine and dine. Wine, no. Vinho, le vin, and dine is to have dinner, of course. In other words, when you're trying to get someone to be your partner, or to convince them to invest, or to work with them more closely, we say a little bit of wine and a little bit of dinner goes a very long way, because you have to get to know them personally, a little bit at least, to wine and dine. It's a way to say to convince someone, but in a very personal way, to wine and dine. That's kind of what you're talking about. So that's kind of networking, to wine and dine in English. And what about you, Florina? Is your experience similar to Anton's?
Sorry, I don't hear you.
Is your experience similar to Anton's, that networking is an integral part of what you do?
Not what I do, but currently I work in a recruitment agency, and I know my boss has a lunch with his clients to get new contracts.
Mm-hmm.
So I think networking is very important in the business.
Okay, very good. And let's say a quick hello to Ravshan. Am I saying your name right? Ravshan?
Hello, Roshan.
Ravshan. How are you?
I'm good, and you?
Very good. Where are you from?
I'm from Azerbaijan.
From Azerbaijan. Okay,
Yeah.
nice to have you. By the way, Ravshan,
Uh-huh.
make sure you close all the other windows because I'm hearing my voice, so it sounds like you have the Verbling window open. Try to
Okay.
close everything but the Hangout, okay?
I closed.
Okay, great, great. So we're talking about, and also make sure you're wearing headphones if you can.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So we're talking about first socializing in the context of talking about processes at work and having to explain processes. One of the places you have to do that is in a more informal setting. So I'm first asking everyone about their experience, about how important it is to meet people socially in your business place as part of your business process. But what we're going to do here is listen to someone speaking at a training event on networking, talking about how to network, how to socialize for the purpose of doing business. So it says here to tick the points that the speaker mentions. Well, all you really have to do is just, I'll keep this on screen. So listen and make a note of the topics that come up. And if you hang on just a second. Okay, if you're having any problems with the Verbling chat, give me just a second and I will post the links in the chat, in the class chat. 1 second. By the way, those are the links. If you don't have them, they're in the class chat.
Yeah, I get.
Okay. And wine and dine, I'll give you an example in just a second, okay? For that.
Okay.
But let me post the other link just so that anyone who doesn't have the Verbling chat can click in the class chat. 1 second here. All right. Okay, but before I do anything else, I want you just to listen carefully. I'll repeat it if it's necessary, but let's see how many of these points you can pick up from listening one time. Okay, here we go. And by the way, Ruben, just follow along, and we'll do a little introduction in just a second. Okay, so here we go. This is from a speaker at a training event. Listen carefully. Good morning, and thanks for coming. Today, I'd like to talk about how business is really done. Well, for most of us, it is done through networking and meeting people. That means we tend to do business with people we like and trust. So the next time you attend a conference or you're going out to dinner with a new client, it is important to remember that a contract or a job can be won or lost on the first impression you make and on clever networking. One important thing to find out in advance about other people, one important thing is to find out in advance about other people. If you've been invited out on a business dinner, you need to know who else is going and what they do. Also, think of things to say and ways to start a conversation. So, a phrase like, "Hello, I was given your name by a colleague," is a useful opening because it means you have a connection. You can talk about the person you both know, and this will lead on to other areas of interest. If there's someone you really want to meet, then try to be introduced by someone else rather than meeting them, as we say, cold. A cold introduction. Something else to remember is, I think that's the end. Okay. So that was the end of the beginning of the speech. So let me ask you, take a look at those points on screen and tell me which ones of those did you hear? I think out of all of those, I didn't say them all, but I think you should find at least 3.
Yeah.
Start the conversations by mentioning someone you both know.
Absolutely. Good, Giuseppe.
Find someone to introduce you to the person you want to meet. And
Okay.
learn people's names and don't forget them.
Learn people's names and don't forget them is incorrect.
Okay.
But 2 out of 3 is pretty good. I didn't say that one specifically. What I did say, what did I say actually? I didn't say learn their names. Sorry, say again?
And first one, I think, do your research before the event.
Exactly, that was it. Do you remember what I mentioned in terms of what kind of research did I mention doing?
Like what other people do, or what is their career, like this.
Exactly. Find out who's going to be there
Yeah.
before you go to the meeting. Find out who's going to be there. Yeah, go ahead.
About people, yeah, about people who will you meet.
That's it. That's exactly right. And and Giuseppe, you mentioned start conversations by mentioning someone you both know. Does anyone remember what I called meeting people without mentioning someone you both know? Remember the term I used? Did anyone catch that one?
No.
I think so.
I forget it.
Okay. I want you to hang on a second. Let's see what else we need to do with this. Okay. I want you to listen a second time, and I want you to tell me, what did I call mentioning someone? Sorry. Starting conversation without any connection to the person. And then we're going to do 1 or 2 exercises using some of the vocabulary. Specifically, we're working on passive forms. Okay, so it would be good to listen carefully because we're going to need it for the next exercise. So, here we go. Second time. Hold on 1 second. Whoops, I have to open my material. 1 second, 1 second. Okay, here we go, a second time. Good morning, everyone, and thanks for coming today. Today, I'd like to talk about how business is really done. Well, for most of us, business is done through networking and meeting people. That means we tend to do business with people we like and trust. So, the next time you attend a conference, or you're going out to dinner with a new client, it's important to remember that a contract or job can be won or lost on first impressions and clever networking. One important thing to find out in advance is find out what you can about other people. If you've been invited out to a business dinner, you need to know who else is going to be there and what they do exactly. Also, think of things to say and ways to start conversations. So a phrase like, hello, I was given your name by a colleague is useful. It's a useful opening because it means you have a connection with that person. You can talk about the person you both know, and this will lead on to other areas of interest. If there's someone you really want to meet, then try to be introduced by someone else rather than meeting them cold. Something else to remember is blah, 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 blah. Okay. So what is it? What do we call it when you start a conversation without without mentioning the person that you have in common?
You find someone to introduce you to the person you want to meet, yeah?
Yeah, and if you rather than what? Meeting them. What was the adjective I used? Meeting them.
Meeting them by the other person you know.
Cold.
Yeah, but cold is correct. Rather than meeting them cold. Meeting them cold means unsolicited, without anyone asking about it, without anyone asking to meet you. That's the same as like when you apply for a job. You can apply unsolicited, where you just send out your CV or something like that. By the way, all of our vocabulary is in our notes document, which looks like this. I'll put it on screen, and I'm going to add some new vocabulary to it right now. So give me a second. Okay, you should right now see the notes document, the gold getting results in business notes here. And I'm going to add a new class for today. I'm going to scroll down. By the way, that you can see here on page 3, there's our table of contents. We're in Unit 4 processes. And I'm going to add a new class to Unit 14. That's where we are. I said Unit 4, Unit 14, sorry. I'm going to add a new class and a new vocabulary to the class today. So let me start here with the vocabulary. A cold, whoop, not a clod, a cold introduction. No one asked to meet you. It's a cold introduction. We also say unsolicited. Unsolicited. And let me give you, hold on a second. Oh, it would help if I spelled this right. Hold on. There we go. And I'm going to give you a quick example of that, and also wine and dine, because I think someone was asking for that. Give me just a second here, because I've got a good tool. Oh, maybe I need to put it up here. I've got a good tool for sentence examples, but I have to figure out where I put it. Maybe I can do it here. Hold on 1 second. Sorry, I'm jumping around my screen because I need to open. I can't do it here. There's a script. Let me try it here. Yeah, here it is. I've got a little database set up. All right. I can't share my screen and do this with you. It's too complicated. Let me turn off the screen sharing, and I'll add the examples to the notes, and I'll read them to you too. Hold on a second. And now I can't turn off my screen sharing. Okay, great. I love it when Google freezes. Hold on a second. Okay, well, I guess I'll leave it on. It's a little bit, I think my, okay, I'll just leave it on. I'll fix it in a second. So, unsolicited. This is a really good sentence database called phrase.it. It's a little hard to explain, but anyway, I'm going to try to call up one good example here for unsolicited and another one for wine and dine. And these are all taken from different sources. So they're all real language sources, but it's a very good database. So look at the first one. It's no longer your place to offer unsolicited advice or ask unwanted questions. This is from timesunion.com. Maybe there is something to be said for unsolicited advice from total strangers. That's from Sports Illustrated, CNN. So these are all real sources. So you can just click copy. I'll go to unsolicited here on the page, and I'll add an example there. Okay? Whoops, didn't work. Sorry. Well, this slows down. Oh, that's why I had to copy it first. So I'll put that in A. Okay, and the other one we had was wine and dine. Wine and dine, like this. And finally, I'll call up an example of that if it lets me. If Google lets me. These Hangouts really slow down the computer. Let's see what we come up with. I'm showing you this because if you need to find examples quickly, this would be a good tool for you to use. Okay, let's see if I can turn off my screen sharing right now. Hold on. Will it let me? Come on, screen sharing, work. If it doesn't work, okay, maybe if I cancel this, sometimes I just have to click the buttons a few times and then it works. If not, I'm going to have to reload the page. Okay, let me see if I can just reload the page, and if I can. Okay, this sentence is pretty good. I'm going to add this to our database. To our notes, sorry. Of course, it didn't let me copy it. Of course. All right, I'll write it manually. All right, well, I've got to figure out how to get my screen sharing back on so I can share the presentation. Let me see if I can just reload the page. I may disappear from the Hangout for a second, but I'll be right back if I disappear. So hold tight for a second. Okay, I got it to work. I'm back. You should see the presentation on screen. Practically speaking, passive forms. You should see that right now. Sorry for the delay. So what we're going to do is 2 exercises to work on the passive voice. Things that you heard in the presentation a moment ago. So it asks us here to complete the sentence using the correct form of the verb in brackets. The passive form is when we talk about an action, not about who is doing the action. So for example, if I say I wrote the book, I'm doing the action. If I say the book was written by me, I'm focusing on the action that's being done, the result. This is very useful when you're talking about business processes. So let's go around the room and take one of these. Let's each take one. Let's start with Anton. Business is blank, and you have to conjugate the verb do through networking and meeting people. So this is all taken directly from the little speech you just heard. What do you think? Remember when I said good morning and thanks for coming today? Today I'd like to talk about how, and then you see this sentence is what followed.
But I don't know how to use do now. I
if
don't
you're
know
not
how
sure,
to.
if you're not sure,
No.
pass, and we'll come back to you. Okay?
Okay. Pass.
So pass. Pass to Florina. You try.
I think it's business is done.
Of course, business is done is right. So this is the passive voice, the verb to be, and what we call the past participle of the verb to do. You know what the past participle is because when you were learning English in the beginning, you had to memorize do, did, done, go, went, gone, be, was, been. You had to always memorize the 3 forms. What you were memorizing was the base of the verb, or it could be the present tense. To do, well, the base is do. Then the past tense, did, and then the past participle, done. The past participle is the form You can remember it because it participates with another verb. So is done is always the form. You can also use it with the present perfect. Has done. He has done a good job. So the past participle always has another verb in front of it. So that's how you can recognize it's the past participle. Anyway, Florina, you're absolutely right. Giuseppe, what do you think about number 2? Remember, these are all sentences you just heard in the speech.
Yeah, a contract or a job can be won or be or lost on first impression, or lost or lost.
Which is it?
And remember exactly which is the past tense and the past participle of the verb lose.
Lose, lost, lost, with a T.
Lost.
Clear?
Yeah. Okay.
So the sentence you heard in the speech was, it's important to remember that a contract or job can be won or lost on first impressions. So notice we don't say can be won or can be lost. In English we have a rule. You must eliminate the verb if you're going to repeat it. You can only say it once, the first time. So after or and, or the, any of the conjunctions, you have to cross out the auxiliary verb, and you cannot repeat them, and only use the past participle. Okay, we've got 3 points and 3 students. So let's go on to Ravshan. Let's take a look at number 3.
Yeah. If you have been invited out to a business dinner, blah blah blah.
Right? What's the blah blah blah?
If you have been invited out to a business dinner, make sure that you are. I don't know.
The sentence was, if you've been invited out to a business dinner, you need to know who else is going and what they do. That was from the speech.
Yeah.
Right? So, that's right. If you've been invited. So, guess what? You've got 2 past participles in this tense. Been and invited.
Yeah.
So, we've made the present perfect a passive voice, and that's why we've got 2 past participles, so that is possible. Yeah. Okay, number 4. Ruben, give it a shot. What do you think about number 4?
Hi, John. Hi, class.
How are you doing?
Thanks. The number 4, you said. Hello?
Yeah, give it a try.
I was given your name by a colleague.
That's right. I was given. And the pronunciation is colleague.
Colleague.
That's right. So that was from the sentence in the speech where I said, so a phrase like, hello, I was given your name by a colleague, is a useful opening because it means you have a connection with that person. I was given. Very good. And Yuki, we haven't heard from you at all today. Hi, Yuki.
Hello.
What do you think about number 5, Yuki?
Try to be introduced by someone else.
That's right. That's right. That came from the end of the speech where I said, if there's someone you really want to meet, then try to be introduced by someone else rather than meeting them cold. Very good. So those are 5 examples in 5 tenses, 5 verb tenses. What I want you to do is now tell me what the verb tenses are. So we're going back to Ruben. Take sentence 1 and match it to one of those verb tenses at the bottom. Use your best guess. I will help you if you're not sure. I'm not saying that you need to know the names of the tenses. I'll make sure that you understand them if you're not sure. But what do you think? Business is done.
Is done.
Looking at those A through E at the bottom.
Present, but I'm not sure between. I think it's present perfect. No, it's
not present perfect because
present simple. No.
Yeah. It is present simple. Present perfect looks the same in Spanish as it does in English, but the meaning is a little different. I forgot what you call it in Spanish, but perfecto, I guess. We would say in Portuguese pretérito perfeito. So in Spanish it's probably pretérito perfecto. I suppose. I don't know. So what was that? You were saying number 1, right? So number 1 is the present simple, which is E. That is correct. It's not the present perfect, because just like in Spanish and Italian and French, there has to be a verb to be. There has to be avoir. There has to be, that's the French one, not Spanish.
And so
there has to
present
be.
perfect. Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
And present perfect would be is being done.
Has been done.
Has been done. Has been done.
Has been done. That's right.
Okay.
So you have that form in Spanish too. In Italian, everyone knows hai capito, right? Have you understood? It doesn't translate into English as have you understood, but that's the same form as in English, right? Or j'ai faim. We don't say I have hunger, but that's the same form with j'ai and faim. So have, something like that. Oh, that's not the same form, is it? I don't know. I messed up. I shouldn't speak languages that I don't speak. I always screw it up. I apologize to Florina for messing up my French. I apologize. Florina, what do you think about number 2? Oh, it was good. Okay. What do you think about number 2? How would you match it? Which verb tense can you match it with? Can be won. Can be lost.
Me?
Yeah. What do you think?
I think it's present simple.
Almost, but you got the word can. What kind of verb is can? Do you know what we call that? Do you know what we call can?
Modal.
That is correct. In English, what we do is simplify the language a little bit compared to a Latin language. We simplify it by using a modal verb. The reason we say modal is because those verbs switch the language from the indicative to the subjunctive. So in French, you have the subjunctif, and it's the end of a verb. It's the ending. In English, we don't really have that many endings, so we use one of these modal verbs, and that's like a big sign in a highway that tells you to turn left. You take the other road, and you use the subjunctive. That means you're talking about wishes, desires, possibility, obligation, permission. All of those are done with the modal verbs. Florina, what are the modal verbs that you know? Could you tell us a few?
Yes.
Besides can.
Should.
Right?
Must, may, might.
That's it. You can remember them in pairs. Can and could, may, right? May and might, shall and should, will and would. And then you've got a bunch of extras. The whole list is can, could, will, would, may, might, shall, should, need to, ought to, dare. That's the whole list. So,
Okay.
number 3 is obviously the modal form, or what we call the subjunctive, or in other Latin languages they call it the conjunctive, conjunctivo. Same thing. So that was 3. Hold on a second here. 3B. What? Oh, right. That was 2, not 3. Right, 2 is D. That's it. Okay. Giuseppe, look at number 3. Now this one's pretty easy because we've talked about this already. Shouldn't be so hard. It's got 2 past participles. Absolutely.
Present. Yeah.
You have. That's right. Because of the have. You have been. There's your present perfect. And in the passive voice, you need 2 because you've got the verb to be. So you require 2 past participles because you're always using have been in the passive voice of the present perfect. Always, always. Okay, so 3 is B, present perfect. So, on to Ravshan, number 4. See if you can identify the tense in number 4.
Number 4.
Yeah.
It is past simple.
It is the past simple, see, because it's I was.
I
The
was.
verb to be is in the past simple, and given would be the past participle that you would follow the verb to be with. That's absolutely right. Ruben, it's your moment to shine. Number 5.
Try to be introduced by someone else.
Right.
To be introduced is infinitive form.
And how do you know it's infinitive?
Because
You're
it's
absolutely right.
to be, no?
To be.
Particle to.
Right. So when you have to in front of a word, you know it's a verb. There is an exception. If I say to being, like ing, that's an exception. Or to going. So sometimes to can be a preposition, but if you have that base form of the verb, it must be the infinitive. And infinitive expresses the future. Like, I want to ski. I want to learn how to ski. That means in the future, sometime that we're not specifying, I want to do this action. I want to learn in the future how to ski. I want to go skiing is about not the future, but it's about the action itself. So the difference between the infinitive and the ing form, the ing form, is that the infinitive implies the future in some way. Normally, it implies the future if it's used alone. Okay, we've looked at the form of the passive voice. We're at the top of the hour, so what I'm going to have to do is switch classes now. So I'm going to be back in just a minute. What we're going to do then is a little bit of practice with the passive voice, and then we're going to start a case study, which is a realistic business situation where you're going to have to use all of your knowledge that you've acquired in this unit to try to explain a process, a technical process, to an investor, including the passive voice. Okay, so I'll be back in about a minute and a half to reload the class in the second hour. Click join or follow along by watching, and we'll do our case study. And what else? I don't know. We'll see. We'll have lots of fun. I'll be back in just a minute. Bye for now, everyone. See you in a moment.
Okay.
Bye.